Turning 16 was the day my world shattered and began to rebuild. The rain lashed against the windows of our suburban house, its relentless rhythm mirroring the storm inside. Victoria, my sister, leaned casually in the corner, her lips curling into a smirk as our parents delivered the devastating news. "Rachel," Mom began, her voice devoid of warmth, "we've decided it's time for you to leave." She said it like it was nothing more than an inconvenience, as though exiling her own daughter was a trivial decision. "You're not like Victoria," she continued. "You're not college material, and we can't keep wasting resources on a lost cause." Dad didn't even look up from his newspaper. As detached as ever, he might as well have been a stranger. Meanwhile, Victoria stepped forward, her designer heels clicking sharply on the hardwood floor, cutting through the silence. "Don't take it too hard, little sister," she sneered, her false sympathy dripping from every word. "Maybe you'll find work as a janitor. That seems more your speed." I stood frozen, my backpack gripped tightly in my hands, struggling to comprehend their cruelty. The signs had been there all along: forgotten birthdays, constant comparisons, and endless praise heaped upon Victoria while my efforts went unnoticed. But this was beyond anything I had imagined. Victoria had always been their golden child, their prodigy. She enjoyed private tutoring elite dance classes, while I scraped by, funding my own school supplies with part-time jobs. Even when I managed to earn AB average despite the odds, the only response was, "Why can't you be more like your sister?" "You have until tonight to pack," Mom added coldly. "And don't take anything we bought. Those are family assets." I laughed bitterly. "That won't be an issue. I've bought everything I own since I was 12. Victoria rolled her eyes. "Always the victim, Rachel. This is why you'll never amount to anything." That night, packing my few belongings into a battered duffel bag, I made a vow. I would prove them wrong. Not just wrong, but so spectacularly that their betrayal would haunt them forever. What they didn't know was that I had spent the past year secretly learning to code. Every dollar I earned working at the cafe went toward online courses. Mrs. Chun, my high school computer science teacher, saw my potential and quietly mentored me. While Victoria flaunted her Princeton acceptance, I was building a future they couldn't even imagine. Instead of wandering the streets like my family probably hoped, I showed up at Mrs. Chen's doorstep. "Rachel," she exclaimed, pulling me into a warm hug. "Come in. You're safe here." The Chens welcomed me like family, their modest home becoming my sanctuary. Mrs. Chun nurtured my talent, and her husband, James, who worked in tech recruitment, helped me secure an internship. From there, I poured every ounce of myself into learning coding. By 18, I launched my first successful app, a platform for underprivileged students. Its impact caught the attention of Marcus Chen, the CEO of Tech Fusion, who offered me a role on their development team. By 26, I had become one of Tech Fusion's youngest executive vice presidents, managing billion-dollar projects. My name, legally changed to Rachel Chen, ensured my family remained unaware of my success. Meanwhile, Victoria followed the predictable path: law school, a prestigious firm, and a marriage to Bradley Thompson, a lawyer from old money. Mom and Dad filled their social media with her picture-perfect life, blissfully ignorant of mine. Then fate intervened. One routine day at work, my assistant buzzed in. Chun, the representatives for the merger meeting are here. They're from Thompson Williams and Associates." My heart skipped a beat. Victoria's firm. "Send them in," I said, adjusting my designer suit and settling into my office chair. The door opened, and there she was, Victoria, poised and polished, followed by Bradley and their colleagues. The moment our eyes met, her expression faltered. Her Hermes bag slipped from her hand, hitting the floor. "Rachel," she whispered, stunned. I smiled coyly. "Welcome to Tech Fusion. Shall we discuss the merger?" Victoria's composure crumbled as realization dawned. Her nothing of a sister was sitting in a corner office, towering over the city, commanding power she never dreamed I could hold. "This can't be real," she stammered. You're not supposed to be here." I leaned back in my chair, the weight of my triumph speaking louder than any words could. "Well, Victoria," I said, "I'm here." Bradley cleared his throat, attempting professionalism. "Miss Chen, we weren't aware of your connection to Victoria." I let the moment linger, relishing the feeling of control. This was my victory, and I had earned every piece of it. Savoring the sweet taste of vindication, I couldn't help but relish the shift in power. "No, I'm sure you weren't aware," I replied, my voice calm and sharp, just like the blade I was wielding. "Just like you probably didn't realize your firm's future rests entirely on my recommendation regarding this merger." Victoria's face, already pale, turned ghostly white. The weight of my words settled on her like an avalanche. 10 years ago, she had laughed as our parents cast me out. Now, the life she built on superiority and control was dangling by a thread, and I held the scissors. The meeting that followed was one of the most satisfying moments of my life. Watching Victoria squirm under the weight of her crumbling facade felt like justice. But this was just the beginning. She had no idea what was coming next. Neither did her parents. Revenge, like success, is best served with careful planning and perfect timing. As Victoria and her team left my office, I saw the cracks forming in her once impenetrable confidence. Everything she thought she knew about herself, her power, her superiority, was unraveling in real time. This was just part one of a decade-long plan. The real blow was yet to come. News of the meeting spread quickly through Victoria's circles. Within days, whispers of my identity replaced the reverent mentions of her accomplishments. Rachel Chen, the tech genius, the prodigy, the self-made millionaire. To Victoria, I was no longer just a name in the tech world. I was the sister she had dismissed and discarded. My phone buzzed relentlessly with calls and messages from her, 17 missed calls in a single day. Each one was a small victory, a stark reminder of the countless times my family had ignored me. "Miss Chen," my assistant Sarah's voice crackled through the intercom. "Your sister is in the lobby again. She's insisting on seeing you." I glanced at my Rolex, a symbol of how far I'd come from the 16-year-old girl in thrifted clothes. "Let her wait," I replied smoothly. "I have more pressing matters to attend to." Those pressing matters included signing the final paperwork for Tech Fusion's acquisition of Thomson Williams and Associates, not through the merger they had desperately sought, but through a hostile takeover. A decisive end to their firm as they knew it. An hour later, Victoria burst into my office, her once flawless appearance now in shambles. Her suit was wrinkled, her mascara streaked from tears. "Rachel, please," she began, her voice trembling. "You have to talk to me. The merger, our firm depends on it." I leaned back in my chair, letting the moment stretch. "Interesting. Now you need something from me? Quite the change from 10 years ago, isn't it?" "I was young," she protested weakly, desperation etched into her features. "We all were." I interrupted her sharply. "I see now. Treating your own sister like garbage might come back to haunt you. The person you threw away might actually amount to something." She sank into the chair opposite me, the weight of her guilt pulling her down. "What do you want, Rachel? An apology? Money? Just tell me." I laughed, the sound as bitter as it was triumphant. "Money, Victoria? I make more in a month than you do in a year." I rose from my chair, walking toward the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. "As for an apology, it's far too late for that." "Mom and Dad want to see you," she whispered, her voice small and desperate. "They're devastated. They didn't know about your success." "Devastated? They missed out on the money, you mean?" I replied, not bothering to mask my disdain. "Tell me, Victoria, did they ever look for me after throwing me out? Did any of you?" Her silence was answer enough. "Mrs. Chen looked for me," I continued, my voice steady with resolve. "She and her husband gave me a home, believed in me, and supported my dreams. They're my real family." Victoria's eyes widened in realization. You changed your name to Chen?" she asked, a tremor in her voice. "I did," I said simply. "The moment I turned 18, I wanted nothing to do with a name that brought me nothing but pain." Just then, my phone buzzed, A message from Marcus Chen, TechFusion CEO. Go. Acquisition approved by the board. Proceed as planned. I turned back to Victoria, my expression unreadable. You'll be getting some interesting news about your firm soon. I suggest you update your resume. Her panic was palpable. What do you mean? She asked, her voice cracking. I savor the moment, letting the weight of my words sink in. TechFusion isn't merging with Thomson Williams and Associates, I said, each word deliberate. We're buying it. And our first order of business is restructuring the management team. The blood drained from her face as the implications sank in. You can't do this. Bradley's family, his connections. I laughed outright this time. Bradley's country club connections, Victoria? I have dinner with senators and tech billionaires. His world is nothing compared to mine. As if on cue, her phone buzzed. Bradley's name lit up the screen. The news was spreading like wildfire. This isn't just about me, she pleaded, her voice cracking. Think about the employees, their lives. Don't lecture me about caring for others, I snapped. Unlike our parents, I don't punish innocent people for someone else's mistakes. Don't worry, I said with a cold smile. The employees will be taken care of. But the senior partners, those who perpetuated the toxic culture, they're out. Victoria stood shakily, her entire world collapsing. Mom and Dad will be at my house tonight, she whispered, her voice barely audible. They want to make things right. I paused, considering her words. Seeing them grovel might be amusing, but I had a better idea. Tell them to come to the Capitol tomorrow night at 8. I'll reserve a private room. After she left, I called Miss Chen. They took the bait, I said, satisfaction evident in my tone. Are you sure about this, Rachel? She asked gently. Revenge can feel hollow in the end. This isn't just revenge, I assured her. This is justice. And tomorrow, they'll finally understand what that means. The next evening, I sat in the Capitol's most exclusive dining room, the epitome of luxury. When my family arrived, their expressions were a mix of awe and discomfort. The daughter they had discarded now commanded a world they could only dream of entering. Rachel, Mom began, stepping forward as if to hug me. I didn't move. Please, I said coldly, gesturing to the table. Sit. Dad cleared his throat, clearly out of his depth. We've been doing a lot of thinking, Princess. I interrupted. Don't. You lost the right to call me that the day you threw me out. Mom's eyes filled with tears. Perfectly timed, as always. We made a mistake, she sobbed. We were so wrong about you. The waiter approached, presenting a bottle of wine worth more than their monthly mortgage payment. I gestured for it to be poured. The sound of the cork popping sliced through the tense air. Yes, I said, my tone calm but unyielding. You were wrong. But that's not why I agreed to this dinner. Victoria shifted in her seat, her confidence unraveling. Rachel, she began. About the firm, the acquisition is final, right? I replied sharply. And again, that's not why we're here. From my briefcase, I withdrew 3 folders and slid one to each of them. Open them, I said. The silence thickened as they complied. Inside each folder were meticulously documented records, a timeline of their cruelty, from forgotten birthdays to scathing remarks, judiciously placed alongside financial statements, property deeds, and investment portfolios. All of it laid bare. How did you get this? Dad's voice faltered as his eyes darted over the damning contents. While you were busy boasting about Victoria's mediocre achievements, I began, leaning back in my chair. I was busy acquiring every debt you owed. Your mortgage, car loans, Victoria's student loans, even Dad's failing business liabilities. I own it all. Every penny you owe is now mine. The shock was palpable. Mom's hands trembled as she clutched the folder, her perfectly manicured nails denting the expensive paper. Now, I said, taking a measured sip of the wine, we're going to discuss terms. The private dining room fell into an uneasy silence. For once, they were at a loss for words. Dad, the man who once dismissed me with a sneer, finally spoke, his voice barely audible. What do you want? What I want, I said, leaning forward, is for you to understand what you threw away 10 years ago. Not just a daughter, but someone who could have been your greatest ally. Mom dabbed at her tears, her designer mascara smudging in streaks. We can be a family again, she whispered, her voice breaking. Please, Rachel, we'll do anything. Anything. I raised an eyebrow, pulling out another set of papers. Then sign this. Victoria, ever the lawyer, grabbed the document first. Her face paled as she read it. This is everything. The house, Dad's business, my trust fund. Precisely, I said coolly. Sign it all over to me, and I'll erase your debts. Refuse, and tomorrow I'll foreclose on everything. You can't do this. Dad protested, his voice tinged with desperation. We'll be ruined. Ruined. I echoed the word, a cold laugh escaping my lips. Let me tell you about ruined. Ruined is being 16 and sleeping in a park because your family threw you out. Ruined is working 3 jobs just to afford a meal. Ruined is watching the sister who mocked you post about her perfect life while you fight to survive. Victoria's anger flared. You're better than this, Rachel. You've already won. You're wealthy and powerful. Why stoop to our level? This isn't about stooping, I said, my voice steady. This is about justice. Consequences. From my phone, I played a recording. Their voices from a decade ago filled the room, cutting through their veneer of remorse, sneers, dismissive laughter, cruel words. As I played the final recording, I saw the shock and guilt wash over their faces. Predicting my failure, I said quietly, pausing the recording at every moment I felt myself falter. It reminded me of what I had been working for, not just success, but this very moment. Dad's hands trembled as he picked up the pen, signing the papers. Mom followed, her tears falling freely. Victoria hesitated, her pride battling her fear, but eventually, she signed as well. It's done, I said, collecting the documents. The apartment keys are with the maid. You have until tomorrow to move your essentials. Everything else will be sold. As they stood to leave, I delivered my final blow. 10 years ago, you told me I'd never amount to anything. I let the words linger, feeling the weight of each syllable. You were wrong. I became everything you said I couldn't. Not because of you, but in spite of you. Victoria paused at the door. Her voice was fragile. Will we ever see you again? I considered her question for a long moment, then replied, that depends on whether you learn from this. After they left, Mrs. Chen entered the room. Her warm smile broke through my hardened exterior. She hugged me tightly. Are you okay, sweetheart? For the first time in 10 years, I said, my voice lighter than it had been in years. I think I am. The next morning, I watched as movers dismantled my old family home, piece by piece. Victoria's perfect life unraveled before my eyes. Dad's business was already undergoing restructuring, and Mom's social circle buzzed with the scandal of their fall from grace. But revenge wasn't my ultimate goal. I had something bigger in mind. The following week, I announced the creation of the Chin Foundation for Youth Empowerment. Its mission: to support abandoned and struggling teens, giving them the tools to rewrite their own stories. When I unveiled the foundation headquarters to Mrs. Chun, she cried. This, she said, her voice thick with pride, is your real victory, turning pain into purpose. She was right. The legacy I was building wasn't born from vengeance, but from hope. Each teenager who walked through the foundation's doors would find the support I once needed, and that was more than enough. Months later, a letter arrived from Victoria. She wrote about her new life, working as a paralegal, living in a modest apartment, and finally understanding the value of humility. I didn't respond. Instead, I anonymously donated to the legal aid clinic where she worked, ensuring they could continue helping others. Success, I realized, wasn't just about proving my family wrong. It was about proving to myself that resilience could triumph over cruelty. My biological family may have abandoned me, but their rejection had forged me into someone unstoppable, someone who not only survived but thrived, using that success to lift others. In the end, I had gained something far more valuable than revenge. I had found freedom, purpose, and an unshakable peace. The girl they threw away had become the woman they could never be, happy, fulfilled, and whole. Please feel free to comment below if you like this. Remember to like and subscribers for more.